mercury sphygmomanometer. So this is a typical mercury sphygmomanometer. Tapping in closed manner. So there is a clip which helps it to unlock it. So when we unlock this instrument, then we are going to see there are some rubber tube, some core materials are there. Okay, the rubber tubes are attached to some chamber, tube or glass capillary rod, and there are some markings written on this instrument. So before we move forward, let's explanation about the various parts of this sphygmomanometer. Let's learn about who invented this machine. Okay, basically this machine was first of all it works on the principle of manometer. That means you can see a manometer is a U-shaped tube in which the pressure in one arm of a manometer is transmitted to other arm. So here also is a manometric mechanism. So this manometric mechanism or prototype of this sphygmomanometer was invented in the year 1890 by a scientist named Linek, and later on some advancement was made in this field, and the instrument was modified later on by Korotkov in 1905, and this is the basic of this modern instrument now presently we are using. So this instrument, as I have told you, there is some part of this instrument attached to the leaves and some of the part which is attached to a rubber tubing tube. Okay, now let's learn about the parts one by one. Okay, if you closely look into this lead part, you can see the lead part is made of a glass tube or glass capillary tube. So we have a tube having some markings or some numbers are written starting from 0, and after every 9 divisions we have the 10th division, the 10th marking is written 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 like this up till 290. Okay, after 290 another 5 divisions are there, and we have, you can imagine, the topmost part of this tube is this topmost part of this tube. Yeah, the topmost part is not given any number, but we have to just judge that this is a 300 mark. Okay, so these markings are showing you the individual pressures of that is recorded by this machine in unity method. So in between two numbers, take for example 140 and 150. If you count closely, you will be able to see there are 5 lines have been drawn. That means each of the divisions are showing you 2 millimeter marking. Okay, or 2 millimeter range. So each of the value are showing you a given number of pressures. So you are measuring blood pressure. That is specifically the arterial blood pressure. So always the blood pressure comes in a given number. Never ever you will get a doctor writing a blood pressure in odd number fashion. Okay, not 119 by 69. Always you have seen the blood pressure in 120 by 80. So like those small basic points you have to know. Along with this glass capillary rod, at the bottom part you can see there is a switch. Okay, the switch has an on. If you twist it on the left side, you can switch on the pathway. Okay, you can see some single fluids is coming out. Okay, this is nothing but a mercury which is housed inside this chamber. Okay, and if you twist on the opposite side, that is off. Okay, now it obstructs the linking pathway from the reservoir to this glass capillary wall. Now, as I told you, the fluid that is coming out is the mercury. Okay, before we are starting the experiment, always you should be aware what is a 0 error. Okay, now if you are keeping the instrument on a plain surface, not having uneven balance of this instrument, we have to look at the level of the fluid. Okay, and we have to check whether the lower meniscus of the mercury is touching the 0 marking of the capillary tube. Okay, now I can see it's touching 0. If suppose it is not touching 0 but above 0, suppose it is touching 4 millimeter mercury, then there in this instrument we will be having a positive zero error. So after examination, after recording the video, whatever recording you want, supposedly you want a systolic blood pressure to be 140 millimeter mercury. So at the end, what we are going to add, we are going to subtract the zero error in that case. That is 140 minus 2, 138 millimeter mercury. If supposedly there is a negative zero error, that means at the starting of the examination, if supposedly mercury lower meniscus is below the low zero marking, then approximately we can, based upon the length, we can measure. Okay, so approximately 2 millimeter mercury is around your 0.5 centimeter to 1 centimeter. So you can just approximate this value, and you can on the end, supposedly you are getting, after doing an examination of the blood pressure, you are getting 140, so then you have to add that zero error. So that's the basic formula. So if 140 is there and there is a negative zero error, then we have to add plus 2 millimeter, then we add systolic as 142. Okay, now coming down after the stop valve. This is the stop valve, by the way, the switch which is actually switching on and switching off the pathway from the reservoir to the capillary rod or graduator capillary rod is called as the stop valve for you. Okay, this is called as the stop valve. Okay, moving to the right side of the stop valve, we have this black cylindrical chamber. So this is called as the mercury reservoir, in which the mercury that is helping us in detecting the blood pressure is placed, okay, or it is kept. So if we are switching it on, there is no free flow of the mercury from this arm to this arm, but when we are switching on, the mercury is freely movable from this arm to this chamber to this arm. Okay, I told you the basis of this mechanism of this instrument is based upon a manometric technique. So manometer, I told you, there is a one arm which is connected to another arm. So in this case, this is the one arm of the manometer and this is the other arm of the manometer. So the mercury reservoir is in between the two arms of the manometer, and this arm of this manometer is made of a rubber tube. Okay, so this rubber tube, you can see, can be removed to another end of the rubber tube, which is connected to a cloth material. This is the cloth material. So this whole material is sometimes called as a cuff, cuff. Okay. Now there are some physicians who say this is going to be a cuff, but that's not the case. Okay, I have studied many journals and I have seen that the whole material that is connected to the rubber tubing is called as a cloth angle. Might vary based upon the manufacturer who are building it. It doesn't matter. But the part is connected to us. Inside of this cloth envelope, we have, if we can press, okay, you will be able to feel a rubber band inside. Okay, now this rubber band is, I'm able to feel the rubber band is approximately of this length. Of this to this, the length of this rubber band, and this to this is the breadth of the rubber band. So this is the back or the rubber band which is connected to the other end of the mercury manometer. So this is called as a reverse cuff. Okay, not the whole material. The whole material is called the cloth envelope. So this is made of clothes, a bag, and some velcros. Okay. So this is raw reverse cuff having a length of 6 centimeter, a standardized breadth of 7.5 centimeter. And this length, it varies based upon the group of cases that you are doing the examination. Suppose you are using this instrument in a pediatric, you can't use it. In the case of pediatric, you will be having a different parameter of the length. Okay, so there are some formulas based upon that. There is a variation in the wrapping cloth material and the reverse. So it changes based upon the departments where you use this machine. Now, this is a reverse cuff, is connected to the other end of the manometer. If we are connecting this to the connector, we will connect with the other end of the manometer. Okay. Now, at the same time, the reverse cuff, the cloth envelope, is connected to another end of the rubber tube, which is connected. This see a balloon kind of a pump. So you just squeeze it, you can see that you can just pump air inside this rubber pump. So this is called as a rubber pump solvent. Okay. So this rubber pump helps you to flow or pump the air by this help of this pipe inside this cuff. Now in between the rubber pipe and this rubber pump or balloon pump, we have another screw which actually is called as a safety valve or release valve, because while you are twisting it anti-clockwise, the release valve becomes bidirectional, and when you are twisting it clockwise, it becomes unidirectional. I said that whenever we are twisting it on the anti-clockwise direction, the valve closes. Okay? And when we are twisting it anti-clockwise, the valve opens up. Okay? Now, the very bottom part of this valve, you can see there is a hole over here. Okay? So this balloon pump works on the principle of suction mechanism. So whenever you are pressing the balloon pump, what happens? A negative pressure is being created. Supposedly, we are twisting it anti-clockwise and we are losing the screw. What happens? This becomes bidirectional. So there is an outlet which makes it bidirectional. So air can come from here to here, or it can go from here to here. So there is bidirectional. What happens when there is negative pressure being created? What happens? The air will be both from the environment and as well from the rubber tubing. So in this particular position, what happens? It doesn't matter how often or how frequent you are, how much time you are pumping the balloon pump, there won't be any air that will be inside this screw, because you have used the screw right to see anti-clockwise, or we have pendulum bidirectional. So you just twist it on the right side or clockwise direction and tighten the screw and make it unidirectional. Now what happens? This unidirectional flow will only permeate the air in one direction, from the exterior to the outside. Okay? So exterior from the bottom part of the pump, rubber pump, towards the reverse cuff. Okay? So at this point you are creating the negative pressure. The air is getting inside and is sucking the air, and it is going through that direction. But the direction that is permitting the air to come from the tube to this is blocked. So like this, the pump inserts the air inside, and you can see the mercury column rises. Okay. So this is the basic nomenclature of all the parts of this instrument. It comes as a spotting in exams, and these are the parts. Usually the parts are being marked as this. The spot give you the spotting. What is this part? This is called as the stop valve. If they give you the spotting in this case, this is the Mercury reservoir. If they give you the marking or the spotting in this, it is the river of Sika or the cloth envelope, whatever you like. If supposedly they are marking it over here, so you can answer it as a river of Sika, but as such the whole material is called as your cloth envelope. In bracket you can write river of Sika or cuff. So then the spotting is given over here, it's a rubber pump. The spotting is given over here is the release valve. That's all for this. So after knowing about the instrument, the mechanics. Okay, so how usually the BP is recorded, the arterial blood pressure is recorded. Now arterial blood pressure is the lateral blood pressure. It is present in the arterial vessels. Okay, so that means if you are creating a pressure, if you are wrapping a sensor around the artery, and the sensor can detect the pressure that is appearing in the column of blood inside a blood vessel. Okay, so what to do? We take this river curve, okay, and place it in such a manner. The Velcro part is on the arm, and what we do? We wrap this Velcro around the arm. Okay, and we tell the subject to expose the part or the arm part that is above this This is called as a cubital fossa. Above this cubital fossa, we wrap it in such a manner. This pipes or the rubber pipes are coming slightly on the medial side. Okay, medial side. So I prefer some physician teach you to keep it over here, but I suggest you to keep it little bit sideways, either here or either laterally. Okay, because you have to keep this area exposed to do auscultatory measurement of your artery blood pressure. Then we wrap it firmly in such a manner. Okay, as I'm showing you, so I'm not being able to wrap it, but you have to wrap it firmly so that after wrapping, at least one finger can get inside. Okay, it should not be too tight, it should not be too loose. Okay, then we do what you can do the indirect blood pressure measurement by two methods. One is the palpatory method, another is the auscultatory method. Okay, we another measurement way of measuring is the oscillatory method, in which we take note of the oscillations of the meniscus of the mercury column. Okay, that's a little bit erroneous, so preferably I suggest the clinician should know about the palpatory and the auscultatory, and whenever you are doing the examination of the BP, you should always do the palpatory before the auscultatory, because in hypertensive cases you will get the auscultatory method to be sometimes very difficult with that. Okay, the person's systolic blood pressure may be shooting up above 180. Okay, so palpatory gives you the luxury of detecting the systolic. Okay, you won't be able to, you will not get some error or do any errors while doing this examination. Okay. Then in this instrument, if you're getting as a long case arterial blood pressure measurement, you also have to know about what are the workup of sounds, what is auscultatory gap, the different workup of sounds, the sounds which are appearing in between, the different variations of the sound which are appearing, starting from the systolic blood pressure to the diastolic blood pressure. So they might ask you why the workup of sounds are created. Now, as such, when you place a stethoscope over any of the blood vessels, you won't be able to hear any sound, because inside the blood vessels, the bloods are moving in a streamlined manner, so that doesn't create any sound until and unless you are creating in pressure by, in this example, wrapping a cuff around the arm. It is creating a pressure around the arterial blood vessel, and we are getting turbulent flow, and this turbulent flow based upon the person's physiological makeup. So there will be some variations. So those variations are detected, and those are called as the workup of sound. Now, the gap between the workup of sounds are called as the auscultatory gap. If there is a big gap between first and the second, or second to the third, it's called as the auscultatory sound, which is detected in hypertensive cases. Now, then they also ask you about what are the variations of the blood pressure based on your position. If you are sitting down, if you are lying down, or you are standing, what are the variations, and also the changes in exercise, what happens to the blood pressure. Now, whenever you use examination, you wrap the cuff, okay, then you do the palpatory method. Palpatory method is that you tighten the screw on the release valve, you pump the air, okay, and you keep your other arm, you being a physician, you will keep your other hand fixed on the radial artery pulse, so that is adjacent to the wrist or the styloid process of bony prominence in the wrist. Okay, and then you try to feel the pulse. Generally, when you are increasing the pressure inside the cuff, what happens? It is squeezing the brachial artery. Okay, so it is squeezing the brachial artery, and the brachial artery is coming and supplying the blood in the radial artery. Okay, so this radial pulse is felt over here. So initially, I will be able to feel the pulse. So as we increase the pressure, what happens? The brachial artery will try to squeeze the wrist blood flow. A time will come when we cease to feel the pulse over here. Okay. Okay, then you move 20 or 15 millimeter more than that particular point, and then you start to release this by twisting it anti-clockwise, slowly but slowly, and keeping your other arm fixed on the radial artery pulse area, and you keep on noting down a point at which the pulse appears. Okay, so somewhere around here will come. Okay, so that particular point at which the pulse again reappears is called as the systolic blood pressure. Mind that this is called as the palpatory method, and in this case only the systolic blood pressure is found. Okay. And also you can note down the mercury meniscus is moving up and down. This is called as, by the way, the oscillatory method. So sometimes earlier physicians used to note down the blood pressure with the help of the movement of the mercury meniscus of the mercury column. Then you immediately release the pressure that completes the palpatory method of blood pressure measurement. So definition of the blood pressure by the palpatory is done. You give a rest of at least 1 to 2 minutes. Then you start the oscillatory method. So oscillatory method, for that you will need a stethoscope. Okay. So in the stethoscope, this is called as the chest piece, the whole part which is kept, which is a flattening and a bell-shaped area. Okay. The flattened area is called as the diaphragm, and the bell-shaped area is called as the bell. Okay. So lower frequency of the sounds like the murmur or it clicks in the cardiac cases. Okay, we use this bell, as well as the fetal heart sounds are heard with the help of this bell. And for the general dictum, all other sounds that are heard, or the other usually moderate to high frequency, are heard with the help of this one. Okay, now we will use the flat part, that is the diaphragm part of the chest piece. We will place this chest piece over here, the part which I told you to keep away from the rubber tubing. So we will keep it over here. Okay, then this time around, you know by palpatory method I already know the systolic. Now that systolic is approximately around 140 to 130. So I roughly know where the systolic blood pressure should be. Okay. Then what we will do in oscillatory method, we will again tighten the screw. We will then try to pump the air inside. Okay. Keeping this firmly placed in the cubital fossa, and you will place the earpiece of the stethoscope in here, and you will try to listen. Generally, when you are starting your oscillatory method, you won't be able to hear any sound. As I told you, the sounds or the cortical sounds are appearing only when there is a turbulent fluid. Okay. So now the streamline flow is there, so there won't be any sound. If you want to keep it attached to the cubital fossa, it's okay, but as you do practice a lot, when you become very versed with this examination of details, so after getting to the systolic blood part, then you place the stethoscope. Anyways, you are learning now, you should keep it fixed so that you will be able to hear it with the sounds difference. Okay. So then you keep on squeezing the pump, try to fill the reverse curve with the pressure of the air inside, and the pressure will keep on increasing, and you reach 20 millimeter above the systolic blood pressure, or 15 millimeter above the systolic blood pressure. Now this time around, since the bloods are completely obstructed, so no sounds will be coming. Okay, then you do what? You release the pressure pulse, or the release valve slowly at 2 millimeter mercury per twist, and you try to listen for any sound in the appearing. We know at around 140 to 158 the sound will be coming, and we will be able to hear a first tapping or first murmurish sound. Any sound if you are getting, that is the systolic blood pressure. Okay, the exact sound that we are going to hear. You keep on releasing this pressure, and you will observe there are some variations in the intensity as well as the sound types. Okay, so there will be some tapping sounds, some murmuring sounds, some swirly sounds, so there are some variations. And at the very end, what happens, a time will come when the curve is released the pressure so much, the turbulent flow gets streamlined. Okay? And at that particular point, you won't be able to hear any sound. So that is called as a diastolic sound. So first point of disappearance of the sound is called as diastolic, and that's how we check the blood pressure accurately. First we will palpatory, then we will oscillatory, and noting down every variations of the sounds if you are going to know any pathology. neurological conditions or not, or systolic sounds is one point and diastolic is one point. Okay, this is a some different kinds of class today. I'm going to show you or demonstrate you that how to again reworks or keep your instruments after you have used. Okay, because why? Because some students I have seen that they place the instruments in a haphazard manner, and what it happens is that you tend to get these broken parts. Okay, so you can see one fellow student broke our instrument. Okay, the capillaries are broke, so you can see that these are broken. Why this gets broken now is because they don't know how to keep the instruments after they use. Okay, I will show you how to keep it after, because this is a very critical instrument that should be present everywhere in any home, and you should also know how to handle it. Okay, so now the thing that I've observed that the instrument gets broken or damaged is that while you're keeping this rubber pump inside, what happens, this release board is a metallic instrument, and sometimes what happens is students keep it like this, and what happens, this growth envelope and the rubber grip anyways, how haphazardly you are keeping it inside, it won't damage this instrument. The damage part will be always in this particular glass materials or this plastic material. Okay, now this metal, what happens, if it is kept somewhere around here and you are closing it, okay, this might come and obstruct. While you are closing the lids, make sure you observe the line of the capillary. So just keep this line when you are closing it. So on the left part of this case, the glass rods will be there or capillary tube will be there. So what you should do, you should always keep this metallic end of this rubber pump or this the release valve on the distal end in such a way this empty part you should be directly adjacent to this empty part. Okay, and moreover you should keep the cloth envelope as close to this mercury reservoir, keeping this rubber pump first. Okay, inside this case, keeping the release valve towards the right side, keeping the envelope over it, then wrapping these pipes like this. Okay, so these are pipes, you won't get damaged. Okay, but try to keep it as really, and make sure you release this one. Okay, and before closing before switch, I just forgot to mention that you always should switch off this stop valve. Okay, then you should do the other methods, other steps. Then you disconnect the pipe. Okay, keeping the pipe which is connected to the manometer link inside, and then keep the rubber pump with the release valve like this, such a way it's on the right side, and when you are closing it, it is adjacent to this part which is not adjacent to the glass rods. Then wrap other pipes like this. Okay, then if it is not closing, you make some changes in the position of the rubber pipes. It doesn't matter, it's a rubber, it won't get damaged. Okay, then you press it and listen for the clicking sound. Okay. Now this time around, since I have kept it in this manner, so the glass rod won't get damaged or the gas capillary tube won't get damaged. Now when I'm going to open it, it will be safe. Okay. So that's how you should close the SPHYGMOMANOMETER and prevent it from getting damaged. Okay. Thank you.